It's now 6:30. I'd like to call to order the Regional Planning Commission public hearing for Thursday, January the 5th. And as we customarily do, I'd like to ask Mr. Peterman to lead us in the pledge. So if you all stand. Thank you all, and as I customarily ask, if you have a cell phone or any kind of electronic device, that you either turn it off or make sure it's on vibrate so it won't disrupt our meeting tonight. Sarah, I'll now come to you for roll call and determination of quorum, please.
Mr. Peterman?
Here.
Mr. Servan?
Present.
Mrs. Karcher?
Here.
Mr. Galvry?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Davis? Absent. Mr. Jester?
Here.
So you do have 6 present, you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, before you have the agenda for tonight, and if there's no change or no corrections, I'll ask for a motion and a second to
So
approve
moved.
it.
Second.
I have a motion. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servan?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Galvry?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 6 yeas in favor of approving tonight's agenda.
Now I'll come right back to you, Sarah, for the introduction and public hearing instructions.
Thank you. This public hearing is being conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of the county the opportunity to present testimony on the applications before the commission. Everyone will have a chance to speak. All statements will be made from the podium at the front of the room. All testimony given shall be sworn or affirmed. For the record, please give your name and address. Copies of any written statements or exhibits used during the hearing should be presented for identification and inclusion in the record. The record will remain open for 2 business days following tonight's hearing. For each application before the commission, the chairman will introduce the application. Then the applicant or representative will be given 15 minutes to present the application. Then those in favor of the application will be allotted 5 minutes each to speak. Then those opposed to the application will be allotted 5 minutes each to speak. When everyone has had an opportunity to give testimony, the hearing on the application will be closed. No decision will be made by the commission tonight. The commission will hold a public business meeting next Thursday, January 12th at 6:30 p.m., at which time it will make a decision on the applications heard tonight. All information of record will be considered. A common vote of 4 members of the commission is required to make a decision. Anyone may attend the business meeting, but no new public testimony will be received. The public notice of this hearing was published on December 9th, 2022 in the Delaware State News. The Kent County Levy Court will hear these applications on Tuesday, January 31st, 2023 at 7 p.m. Unless tabled by the commission or withdrawn prior to the levy court hearing. The levy court also meets in this room. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. We'll now get into our public hearing. And the first one on our agenda tonight is application AP-23-01. District name is Voss Farm District, K-22-10-303. Applicant owner is Ruth Ann Voss of 3065 Blackston Road, Clayton, Delaware, 19950. Present zoning district is AC, Agriculture Conservation. Proposed zoning district is the same with an Agriculture Preservation Overlay, AP10. Area and location is 298.75 plus or minus acres, located on the west side of Blackston Road, approximately 3,500 feet south of Millington Road, northwest of Kenton. Is there someone here to represent this application? Customarily, we don't see nobody, but these things are the ones that I really enjoy doing because it means we won't see a housing development or we won't see anything else in the area. So I will ask 3 times, is there anyone here to represent this application? Anybody online, Mark, for the third ask?
We have no members from the public
online at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Seeing nobody wanting to speak for it, is there anyone here against this application? Anyone here against? Third and final call. Anyone here against? If not, we'll be taking this application up at next week's meeting. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda tonight is application entitled CS-23-01, The Reese Apartments. Applicant is Carson Development, LLC, 14 Rockford Crossing, Dover, Delaware, 19901. Owner is Paris Investments Incorporated, 3799 North DuPont Highway, Dover, Delaware, 19901. Engineer is Vandermark and Lynch, Inc. Attention, Steve Rosenfield, P.E., 4305 Miller Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19802. Comprehensive Plan Map Designation is Highway Commercial. Present zoning district is BG. General Business District, relation to the growth zone, is inside. Present use is vacant. Proposed use is apartment complex. Structures, 2 apartments, first one being 7,970 square feet, and then second one being 8,550 square feet, and also a 2,170 square foot community building. Proposed number of apartments will be 48. Parking required. I think they went to the BOA, didn't they, Sarah? And that 122 is now 96.
That's correct.
Parking required and proposed is 96. Water is public. Tidewater Utilities, Inc. Wastewater is Kent County Sewer. Levy Court District is the 5th, Jody Sweeney. School District is Lake Forest. Fire District is Felton, Station 48. Area and location, is 4.57 plus or minus acres located on the east side of South DuPont Highway, Delaware Route 13, approximately 218 feet south of the intersection of Crestwood Drive and South DuPont Highway, northeast of Viola. Is there someone here to represent this application? Please come to the mic, give us your name, and you'll be sworn or affirmed. Your choice.
Max Friedman, 14 Rockford Crossing, Dover, Delaware.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
If you keep the mic up close to you, we appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. Hi, I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant, Carson Development, LLC. We're an affordable housing developer based in Dover, Delaware. And I just want to give some context to the project and talk about kind of the makeup of the project and the demographics of our residents. Like you'd mentioned in the summary, there's 48 rental apartment units. They're 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. We'll also have a roughly 2,000 square foot community building with rental offices, laundry facilities for the residents, and about 1,000 square feet of community space. Sorry, I missed the... Apologize, a lot over here. So this was an affordable housing project that was, we had applied for competitive funding from Delaware State Housing Authority. The project's funded by federal and state level funding, the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program and Housing Development Fund and other programs through DSHA. It was competitive funding. We beat out projects in Wilmington and Lewis, so we were really excited to bring the first Low Income Housing Tax Credit project to Kent County in a long time. All apartments will operate under affordable housing restrictions, and the project will have a 30-year land use restrictive agreement that limits the income and makeup of all 48 rental households. So all 48 units will technically be qualified low-income households, and incomes will range depending on the unit, but it'll be about $16,000 to $50,000 household income for all these units. Most of them are probably in the closer to $40,000 household income, and we're typically seeing single-parent households with 1 to 3 children. Most of the units are 2 and 3 bedrooms. So a little bit about the community building. Like I mentioned, it has leasing offices, laundry facilities for residents only, and community space for quarterly social service programs, including financial literacy, health and nutrition education, and like family programming for parents. These are programs that we were incentivized to partner with nonprofits with at application stage with DSHA. So we're very committed to maintaining these programs. Pretty much all of these will be on a quarterly basis, approximately 16 hours a year, 4 hours quarterly for each of these services. And these are available to all of the residents in the community building. And I wanted to provide a little bit of a color site plan here to just kind of go over the amenities that we'll have on site. Like I'd mentioned, there's a community building pretty centrally located. And next to that will be the playground, which will be ADA accessible for any wheelchairs or people with disabilities to be able to access that playground. And then we have walking paths around that playground and around the rear of the property that tie to the bus stop on the top right portion of the plan you're looking at. There'll be benches and picnic tables along those walking paths, and then the bus stop will be improving with a larger concrete waiting pad, and then we'll also be adding a bicycle rack by that transit stop. And also it's worth mentioning the significant utility improvements we're doing to the site. We're bringing in county sewer from about 1,800 feet north, and then tidewater water from about 4,000 feet south. So some pretty significant utility infrastructure that's being brought in, and allowing more development potential for those homes in between those connection points. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. I just wanted to give a summary and context to the project that we're proposing here. Our civil engineer, Steve Rosenfeld, is here if there's any technical questions after I'm done, but I'm happy to answer any questions at this point.
I'll open it up to the commissioners. Anybody up front here or Mr. Garvey on the phone have any questions for this gentleman? Mr. Mills?
Yeah, would you pinpoint exactly where that bus stop? I don't see it on here.
The top right, I guess that would be the northwest.
Oh, I see bus. That's a bus shelter.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, but where is the? Oh, that's a bike shelter. But where's the bus stop?
Does he have a pointer, Mark? Does he have the pointer?
The blue arrow is marking the bus stop, and then just below it is the bicycle rack.
Okay, so that's my question here. I'm in the bus business. So that's why I'm asking these questions, school bus business. Where is the road in conjunction, where the bus will be stopping? And we've gone over this so many times with other developments. What we're trying to do through the school districts is to get these buses off the main road to pick up these kids. Either go inside the development and do it and turn around and go back out. It's much safer because we're having serious problems with buses stopping on any road to get traffic stopped. So I'm not saying you got a good thing going here, but I'm just concerned about where is that bus going to stop in conjunction with the road that it's traveling on. And next question is, even the south, the opposite direction, do kids have to get off the bus and cross the road to get to wherever they're going into this development? What I'm trying to get at is we need to get these buses inside to make a turnaround and go back out.
Understood. And so it is an existing DART transit stop. So there is like a shoulder.
That's not for school. That's not for school buses.
Okay, understood. So I think where we would ideally have kids get on and off the bus, so Canterbury Drive, just north of the property, I understand there's a lot of children that live there, and that's where the bus goes at this point. So the children would be able to access that through the pathways on the northern part of our property, which is on the right here.
I just have concern about buses stopping on any road to pick up children. It's getting more dangerous every day, and especially getting them across the road, and especially in this type of housing is so many little kids, first, second, third, fourth graders.
Understood. I think there is enough space, and it's where they would be stopping already on Crestwood Drive. And that would be, I think that's off 13. I think that's a safe spot for the children to get on and off the bus.
You okay, Mr. Mills?
Possible to put that on your plans, make sure it's on, do you see the bus stop on here?
Yeah, the little tiny building.
Open up. You're actually saying the DART bus stop is going to be where the children will be picked up, correct?
You know, I don't know. I mean, it's the DART bus stop is dedicated to the DART. I mean, to be honest, we hadn't considered where exactly the bus stop would be because there was already a ton of kids that get on the bus at the neighboring property. So we figured that Crestwood Drive would be the pickup location, but I don't think it's out of the question that the bus could pull into the property, but I think it's easier with the existing stop that they would already be doing on Crestwood Drive for the neighboring Canterbury Crossing community.
Can you point that with your pointer?
Yeah, that's the entry road into Canterbury Crossing.
What he's saying is he's actually coming into Canterbury Crossing with the buses. Am I correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
So will you be building an out sidewalk to the edge of this property to access that?
Yes, we can absolutely implement that.
Okay. Mr. Servon?
Yes, I don't see any slow down lanes or turn lanes coming off of 13 into your development. I mean, there's only one way in, one way out, right there.
That's correct, yeah, this right here. Unfortunately, we're not able to get access off of Crestwood Drive. We did try and pursue that, but it's a private road, unfortunately, and they weren't willing to grant us access. Crestwood Drive is private, yes. It's owned by the Canterbury Crossing Mobile Home Community.
Mr. Peterman?
Do you have any, excuse me, do you have any estimation of how many children will be in there?
So we have 48 units. I would estimate 1 to 3 per unit, so, you know, call it 60 to 70.
And they're all going to have to walk to the other side of that development to get the bus?
Yes.
Is there any way you can fix it so you can have a bus stop in the middle of the building so all the kids won't, when it's bad weather, they still have to go a far distance on that one side to get to the bus?
Yeah, understood.
Is there any room for you to put that bus stop somewhere in the middle where the bus can go in and turn around? And when they're not allowed to back up, they need as much room as they can get.
Understood. Yeah, I don't think that would be necessary, given that the bus would already be stopping next door, and it's really not a far way to go for at least half the property in Building A there, which is right there. So I don't think it would be. I think it's still reasonable to not have a dedicated bus stop on the property and maintain the level of green space and walking paths that we want to prioritize for our residents.
Are you okay, Mr. Peterman?
Yeah, I wouldn't want my kindergarten kid to walk that far.
Denise, I think, has a question for you.
Yeah, a couple. I'll probably forget one or two on the way. Has the school district given any input to this? Have they seen this?
No, we've been required to notify them, and we did with, via the process that the county requires. But we've not heard anything from the Lake Forest School District, which this is under.
I think I'd like to know how they feel about it. So would it be impossible for the bus to get into and then to go around the parking? Is that not a potential?
Difficult for me to say right now. We can definitely take it into account and take a look at it. But it's difficult for me to say right now because we hadn't considered it.
And with regards to DelDOT, have they said anything about changing, improving whatever this safety lane is along the 13?
Yes, we did have that conversation specifically. If it's all right, I can defer to our engineer after this for that technical question. He might be able to provide better context than I would, but we specifically talked about that on a call with them about a month and a half ago when they reviewed this.
I think Mr. Mills has one more question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, back some few years ago, didn't we adopt something that the school districts had to sign off on these developments?
School districts don't have to sign off. They do have to be notified.
They have to be
And in all
reviewed.
cases, they are.
You say you did contact Lake Forest and they not responded?
That's correct. Yeah, we sent that out, I believe, the first week of December.
They will respond when I get done with them, because I'm over there.
Okay.
I'm not in the transportation part, but I know them very well.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, like we had contacted the superintendent at Lake Forest. Yeah.
I think Mr. Garvey has something on the phone. He's the other commissioner that called in.
Yes. Actually, it's just one question, but I guess it's multifaceted. On the staff recommendations report on item B, where it lists the staff recommendations, I'm assuming that you had a chance to review them, and I'm just wondering if you're okay with those recommendations, or if there's any that you are not, and if so, which ones, and what is it that you don't like?
I apologize. We weren't able to see those comments at this point, so I'm not able to speak on those recommendations yet.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Garvey?
No, actually, because I would like to know moving forward whether these issues that that the staff recommended would be complied with. How do we proceed on a situation like that?
Yeah, because one of the questions I had, that being this is a complex like it is, and you're only allowing 2 vehicles per apartment, you said there would possibly be some overflow parking. Did you have an idea where that might be designed at a later date?
I believe the overflow parking would be in these areas right there. And then there would be be able to stretch this out a little bit, and then we'd have more parking on these rows as well.
I think the other commissioners are done. I guess it's now my turn. I will first.
One last thing, if I may.
Okay.
Being that you have not had the chance to review the staff recommendations, and next week we'll be looking at this, Chairman, is it appropriate to suggest that they do take a look at these things and then have a conversation with staff as to which items they are willing to be in compliant with, so that could be put in front of us next week, and then the items that they're not, we'll know by default that they're not. I'd just like to go into next week knowing that they're good with this or they're not good with this, and not leave it out there like this.
No, absolutely have a chance to review this promptly. We hadn't received this, unfortunately.
And then communicate your intentions on those recommendations, those staff recommendations, to the staff, so that they can properly inform us as to your position on them for next week, if that's okay with everybody.
I think Sarah has a comment.
I would just offer that, as I stated earlier, the record stays open for 2 business days. By close of business Monday, if they give us something in writing, it will be part of the record.
Yeah, because if we continue to have these questions, you could be put off for a little while, a few days, because we really want to have the answer for the school buses, and we want to have the answers about the staff comments.
Yeah.
But I am now going to advise you, I'm an active firefighter in the Felton Fire Company. this is in our district. First of all, I look at this, and you're putting in a 3-story building, the first one in our district, because we don't have a ladder truck. So we're going to have a dual response from additional companies to come in. Unless your company's going to buy us a ladder truck, I don't know what else I could recommend on that. But I also ran it past a few other of our drivers and all, and the chief. And being you have a 8-inch line coming on board, I don't know why you're cutting it down to a 6-inch to go to the fire hydrant that comes in. I'd like to see that upgraded to an 8-inch all the way over to the fire hydrant you got proposed on here. And we'd also like to see a second fire hydrant put up opposite the trash dumpster enclosure on the other side of that tree right there. A fire hydrant right there would be very handy. Now, over on the other side, move your blue marker over towards the building. Yeah, in that area over there back of the sidewalk, we certainly think an extra fire hydrant, because nowadays when we hook up to hydrants, we have a lot of front lay on our trucks. I guess you've seen the big bumpers where we have our pre-connects. That's where we fight the fires from. The second hydrant would be able to help us respond to the second structure and not be able to have to lay in a large line from the existing only one fire hydrant you have on. So I'm going to make those recommendations to you, or do I need to talk to your engineer besides you?
I mean, he's here listening, but if you have any additional questions for him, he's ready to answer questions, and I'm done, yeah.
So what's your comments on about increasing the 8-inch line to the fire hydrant and the additional fire hydrant that we would like to propose up by the building?
I think we intend to implement that. We're going to take a look into it and just confirm that it's feasible to do that, but I think we can make that change.
Okay, as long as we know it by the end of the close of the second day and you respond to that question, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
And like I said, it's the first 3-story structure we have in our whole fire district, and we do have the largest district in the state, so I just want you to be advised of that also. Does your other gentleman want to come up and expand on what you've said? You'll have to give his name and his address, and he can be either sworn or affirmed.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
It's Stephen Rosenfeld. Over by the mic. Stephen Rosenfeld from Vandemark and Lynch, 4305 Miller Road, Wilmington, Delaware.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You have anything else to add?
Well, I will respond with regard to your comment with the fire hydrants and the fire line size. I don't see any problem complying with what you need to do there.
Yeah, because the one would just be a small connect off a T-line up by the second building. And until you've spent time at 2 o'clock in the morning beside a fire truck and don't have enough water, we certainly like to see you be able to handle this. But just be advised, like I said, it's the first 3-story structure, so there will be additional ones responding in unless you're going to buy us one new ladder truck between now and construction. I don't know. I'm making that as a jest. But it is a well-known point that we do not have a ladder truck. Okay, anything else you want to add to what was presented?
I also believe, was there a question regarding DelDOT and the deceleration lane?
DelDOT and the staff comments and the school bus.
Yeah, we haven't seen the staff comment. I haven't seen them, so I don't know anything about what's in the staff comments. Regarding the turn lane, DelDOT is requiring a deceleration lane into our entrance, and for us to put an island in the existing entrance.
We certainly hope there will be some kind of written answers to these questions, because I know, Sarah, you probably mailed that out to them in what month?
It certainly got sent out before the holiday.
So
we haven't received it.
We will make sure you get that, and you'll have to get back to the comments by the close of
business Monday.
Okay?
Will do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll now open this up to other public. Is there anybody here that also supports this project? Anybody here that supports this project and would like to speak? Anybody here that supports this project and would like to speak? Third and final call. Anybody here? You're here to support? Name and address, and you'll be sworn or affirmed, and make sure the mic's down to close to you. Thank you.
Danielle Smith, 14 Rockford Crossing, Dover, Delaware.
Ms. Smith, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So I think it would be good for everyone to be.
Ma'am, you got to stay close to the
sorry.
mic. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. That this project was awarded through the Delaware State Housing Authority in a very competitive process. So we would be creating 48 new affordable units in the state, which is desperately needed. And in this particular area, it was identified as an area that the state saw a sense of urgency for new unit creation. To your point about the school bus, I totally understand. I have a 3-year-old son, so right now the school buses do go off of Crestwood Drive, and there are a lot of kids within Canterbury Crossing. I do anticipate that's where the school buses will continue to go, and there's definitely a safe path without, crossing any major intersections or anything like that, and nor would we ever expect that of anyone. In regards to the entranceway, that is already a designated entranceway that is already approved. But those were the two major points that I wanted to touch on.
Any commissioners have any comment or questions for the young lady? Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you. Oh, I've got one more.
Go right ahead.
So I also oversee the management of over 500 units, affordable units in the state of Delaware across all 3 counties. It would be very, very rare for a household to have more than 1 vehicle. You have to remember the household composition and their income. Additionally, I think Max was a little conservative in his in stating that there were 1 to 3 kids per unit. Oftentimes, we will have single-member individuals. A lot of the time, they are first responders, teachers, people that are doing the best that they can, providing services to the community. But with rental rates where they are right now, it's just not affordable for them. So this is an affordable workforce housing community that I think will serve the community very well.
Thank you very much once again. Thank you. Going over to the negative side, is there anyone here that's against this project? Please come to the mic, give us your name, your address, and you'll either be sworn or affirmed.
Hi, my name is Paul Casarato, 8147 South DuPont Highway. I'm the very next door neighbor.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So I've got a few concerns. I'm looking at, I'm concerned with my privacy. I mean, never mind my property value just going right out the window. I know that's a given. But, I'm concerned with my my privacy. This one building to the left, it backs up right to the property line and probably less than 50 feet away from the corner of my house. I'm hoping that that this company is willing to put in an 8 to 10 foot privacy fence along with thick trees that will hold their foliage during the winter months, the colder months. And I've also got a major issue with traffic, some traffic concerns. That entrance is right on 13. There is no crossover if you're heading southbound on 13. There is no crossover into that entrance, meaning you have to go down to the next to make the U-turn. That U-turn right now is currently being used by maybe 6 houses on 13, and the neighborhood right across from it, I believe it's Brenda Drive or Barbara Drive, something along those lines. So now you're talking about an increase of traffic at that U-turn alone. I think it would be more ideal, which I don't know if this is possible, but your Crestwood Drive, I'm not sure if that's privately owned by Canterbury Crossings or if it's public. But I think that you guys need to consider putting the entrance in there so that that crossover can be utilized that is already in place. To put in a crossover where the proposed entrance is going to be way too close to the existing crossover. I'm also curious about this deceleration lane. Is this going to end up in front of my property? Is that where it's going to start? I've already almost been hit by a vehicle pulling on 2 different occasions, pulling out of Canterbury crossings heading southbound in the northbound lane, causing a vehicle to swerve and miss me by mere inches as I'm going to pick up my mail or get my trash cans. I understand, I respect, and I appreciate the lower affordable income housing. As a matter of fact, I used to live at 35 Rockford Crossing. So I know, how important it is to have these things. I don't think this is the right location. You've got a bike shelter there for the kids. Where are these kids gonna ride? I'll tell you where they're gonna ride. They're gonna ride up to the Canterbury Shore Stop, or they're gonna ride down to the Goose Creek on 13, making it very dangerous for them to travel on their bikes on that road. I think there's many of other properties in the area that are available that do not butt right up to an existing property. I've spent over $60,000 in the past 3 years upgrading and renovating my home, only to be found out that that is all going to be thrown out the window and not worth anything once this development moves in.
I thank you for your comments. We certainly appreciate them. We'll take them all into concern here about when we do this, and next week we'll work with the contractor, because that was one of the things I had about a fence being along next to the residence next to it. So you're not the first one that thought of it. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Anyone else here opposed to this project and would like to speak? Third and final call. Anyone here opposed to this project? If not, we'll be taking this project up next week. Thank you. I believe it must be easy to understand what everybody's waiting for, which will be the third one on our agenda tonight. We're now going into our third project. Plan number and title is SL-22-01 Mulberry Meadows. Location, located on the east side of Peachtree Run, County Road 105, 858 feet south of Walnut Shade Road, County Road 30, east of Woodside. Owner, applicant is Red Knot Farms, LLC, care of Linda Samost, P.O. Box 368, West Berlin, New Jersey, 08091. Engineer is Bowler Engineering, VA/LLC. Steve Fortunato, and I apologize, you'll have to straighten me out when you get there. 18958 Coastal Highway, Suite D, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. 19971. Present zoning district is AC, Agriculture Conservation. Levy Court District is 5th, Mr. Sweeney. School District is Caesar Rodney. Fire District is Magnolia Fire Company, Station 55. Size of the site is 69.12 acres plus or minus. Number of proposed lots is 104 single-family lots. Active open space is 0.72 acres. Passive open space is 32.62 acres. Stormwater management area is 4.25 acres. Wetlands area is 12.61 acres. Average lot area is actually 0.25 acres plus or minus. Minimum lot area is actually 0.23 acres plus or minus. Maximum lot area is actually 0.37 acres plus or minus. Maximum impervious coverage is 35%. Relation to the growth zone inside, density 1.5 units per acre. Streets, public, to be constructed according to Delaware Division of Highway specs. Water is public, Tidewater Utilities. Sewer is public, Kent County. Is there someone here to represent this project? Come up to the mic and straighten me out, because
Do I still need to stick around? I'm not sure how this goes from here.
No, you can, once your project's done. Then you won't hear this guy fuss about how I pronounce his name, so I don't know. So give us your name and your address, and you'll be sworn or affirmed.
Steve Fortunato, working out of 18958 Coastal Highway, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, from Rehoboth.
Mr. Fortunato,
Bowler Engineering.
do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Go right ahead, sir. Give us your presentation.
Sure. Well, thank you. You certainly went over quite a number of aspects of this project, but I'll go ahead and elaborate maybe a little bit further. We are proposing a 104-lot, single-family, detached unit subdivision. It is right on Peachtree Run, just south of the intersection of Peachtree and Walnut Shade, right near Polytech High School. The zone is agricultural conservation, and it is within the growth zone overlay district. The minimum lot size, we're complying with the code, 10,000 square feet minimums. Our lots are about 75 feet wide by about 135 feet long, so relatively large lot sizes for a single family subdivision. It is 69 acres, and the permitted density is 3 units an acre, which would by code allow for 204 units. We are only proposing 104. So a significant reduction in the maximum density, largely because there are a number of ditches and wetlands and streams running through the site. We're maintaining and respecting all of the buffers associated with those natural features and only impacting them where necessary for proposed road crossings. So we've tried to incorporate our site layout and site design into the existing natural features that are present, and really limit the amount of disturbance to the wetlands, disturbance to the to the ditches, and to the existing forest and buffers on site. We do propose one new entrance on Peachtree Run. It lines up with a previously approved subdivision that is directly across the street from us. That's been coordinated with DelDOT. We do have a TIS completed. That's been finalized through DelDOT. What we're showing generally meets their recommendations for the TIS, which for our site proposes a right and left turn lane. So we're going to work with the previously approved entrance plan design for the adjacent subdivision to coordinate those improvements. No off-site improvements were required physically, although we will make, there'll be contributions to a number of DelDOT projects in the area. They will be DelDOT publicly owned and maintained internal subdivision streets. It is served by county sewer and Tidewater Central Water System. And within the site, in addition to maintaining the existing ditches and wetlands, we have a number of stormwater facilities that have been located throughout the facility. We really try to limit the amount of back-to-back housing. It provides more open space, provides a better product, and a better, backyard situation, and really creates a multitude of stormwater facilities and stormwater features that's better for stormwater regulations and better from a home sales standpoint. We have addressed the county preliminary comments that were issued. So we've addressed those resubmitted plans with a comment letter responding to each one of those items. I don't think there were any real issues in those comments. I would like to point out that we are requesting 2 waivers from the Planning Commission tonight. You should have copies and letters requesting those officially. So I won't read those into the record, but I do just want to elaborate on those a little more. The first is, and I will make sure I get these technically correct, which the first is requesting a waiver from section 187-53I4 from the Kent County Code. This has to do with the minimum setbacks from stormwater facilities. Currently, the residential parcel limit must be 30 feet from a setback, and the setback to the residential to a setback line within the lot is 100 feet. So it's required 30 feet from the property line, 100 feet setback from the residential lot setback line. What we're proposing and what we're requesting, and what's shown on this plan here, is to reduce that to a 15-foot setback from the stormwater facility to the property line of each subdivision lot, which would then result in a minimum of a 25-foot setback from that facility to the residential setback line, building restriction line. The reason we're using those numbers is that is what is in compliance with the current Delaware sediment stormwater regulations. Those were revised, I think, a significant time after this ordinance was put into place. So I think maybe at the time that this was put into place, there weren't such setbacks required as part of the regulations. Now that has been determined, and essentially those requirements are put in place to allow for proper maintenance. So the setbacks that we're proposing would allow for not only the regular maintenance of these facilities, mowing and care, but also the more intensive, if you've got to have excavators come in there, clean out forebays, clean out the bottom of these ponds, that is adequate to properly maintain these facilities. If this waiver is not granted, what that would result in, if you could imagine with the layout currently, if you draw a 100-foot line around all of these stormwater facilities, you're going to really impact a lot of these lots. So the way that we would have to shift this site design around that is we would go to more of like probably one central stormwater facility to limit that amount of setback buffer space. And not to say that we can't do that or that would be wrong. I just, from a stormwater standpoint, DENRIC has made a big push to have smaller, not large regional facilities, but smaller facilities scattered throughout the project to treat runoff on site. And I think it just provides, like I said, a better product to have a large number of stormwater ponds throughout the facility. So that's the basis of our request for that waiver. I'll elaborate a little bit more on our second waiver, which is section 187-58 H2 of the Kent County Code, which requires our plan to incorporate linkages to potential interconnection. So the way the code reads is really what we will be required to propose an interconnection right at this location to that farmland that's adjacent to us. So that's what the code requires. What we're proposing to ask for a waiver for the elimination of that requirement. Two main reasons. The first is for a safety aspect. If this other land was ever developed, this could easily be used as a cut through to basically cut around that stop controlled intersection if it ever backed up. People are going to use this as basically a means to divert that. That's going to add traffic to these roads. Chances are people that are using that are probably not driving quite as slow as they would if they were living here with neighbors and kids. They're trying to save time, so they're probably traveling a little faster. In addition, these roads are designed to a certain amount of daily traffic based off of what the subdivision proposes. So we do calculations internally to figure out how much traffic is going to be used on each subdivision street. If you add a bunch of cut-through traffic, you're now increasing that number, which could potentially negatively impact the design that we account for in our plans. The second reason that we would ask for this has to do with and it might be something that the representatives from the developers, D.R. Horton, might elaborate on, is they've seen instances where there's interconnections that result in outside communities utilizing these facilities, these amenities. So we're going to propose active open space as well as passive open space, gazebos, benches, some active recreation areas. And if you interconnect that to another subdivision that may not provide the same amount of amenities, you're kind of inviting them to, hey, just come right in, it's right down the road, and utilize these facilities. Again, if it's not part of their community, probably not the same level of care being taken care of them, cleaning up trash, leaving things out. And that's, kind of from also sort of a safety and just feasibility standpoint that we would request that waiver from that interconnection piece of the Kent County Code. I think that summarizes my presentation. So again, just asking for a preliminary approval with the approval of these two waivers that are requested.
I thank you very much. Before I do my comments, I'm going to open it up to the commissioners. You see here and on the phone, Mr. Mills has a question for you.
Yep.
Well, you know what my question is. So you can go ahead and tell me where it's at. From what I'm seeing here, that's a lot of houses in there for kids to come out here to Peachtree Run.
So I would be, and again, so just to be clear, we haven't established explicitly where bus stops will be. We did do the same reach out, the community reach out form to the school district, and we did not receive a response. We'll actively work with them to figure out where these will be, but a community this size, there's almost no chance they're going to want everyone to walk, several hundred or even 1,000 feet out to Peachtree Run. So I would envision a school bus coming in, making a loop around the big section, probably going to make a loop for a stop and around that the smaller section down here, and picking kids up at, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 places internally. So I don't think there's a chance that you end up with a bunch of children walking out to the road here.
Well, it's not only the children walking out, but I've discussed this with both of these transportation, not on these particular developments, but this is one thing that they both said, Cesar Rodney and Lake Forest. We need to improve the way these buses are picking up these kids. And it's not only the kids walking out, it's the parents bringing the kids out and parking their car right there on that entrance that goes in from Peachtree, parked all along there, and nobody else can get in or out, and that's creating a problem. I'm not saying not in this development, but I'm talking about other developments compared to this. I'm seeing it all the time, and we've got to improve some kind of a way of getting these buses off, in this case, off of Peachtree Run, and that's the only place you got to pick up those kids right there. Now, we've got to go in and make a loop in there some kind of way to get those kids picked up and make it safe for them.
Yeah, and again, I would envision, and we agreed that you might have a stop here, and a stop in here. I don't think there's a situation where this bus stop would be out on Peachtree Run.
More question: how far, from Peachtree entrance there all the way back to that last house? How far is that? Did you say?
You tested me. It's I don't know, 1,500 feet.
Is that all? I mean, what's half a mile?
I don't have
The kids can only walk half a mile.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think, I don't think it's reasonable to think that someone's walking from here all the way out to
I'm trying to save everybody's butt on this thing, because we get this parent thing called, hey, I want my kid picked up at the door. You can't go into every door, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
That's all. I mean, that's always.
And that's something we can work to coordinate, because from a developer standpoint, Horton wouldn't want the situation that they've got to sell these homes to be, everyone's going to walk out to Peachtree Run to get your bus to pick up your bus stop. So there's no one on our end wants that. I wouldn't imagine the school district would want that either. So we can reach out to them.
It's so simple to resolve, and want me to help you, I'll do it.
Yep, and that's a good point. We'll look into it.
I'll remind you that these are the kind of questions that we really need to be answered. We don't have the crystal ball either. We don't have the abilities to prove something if we can't see it as in being in black and white. So be advised about that. And is there any other commissioners have any questions? Denise?
I don't really have a question. I would just like to make a comment. Where I live in Smyrna, for many, many, many years, we did only have one in and out from our development. And I don't know. I guess I was too naive at the time, but as they started to develop some areas behind us, we now have more than one in and out. I consider that so much safer than just having one in and out. I realized as hindsight that I was stupid not to be worried, and I really would appreciate that being there.
Any other commissioners here or Mr. Garvey on the phone have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Go right ahead.
Just a simple one, I would think. I believe in your presentation you implied that there was about 35% or thereabouts of impervious surfaces, and we do have ditches and wetlands within the area. So my question is that will there be any kind of periodic water quality testing to see any impact from runoff into those wetland areas? And who is going to be, I'm assuming it's DENREC in partnership with you guys, but I don't know, who is going to be responsible once this development is up of making sure that the ditches and all remain free and clear of debris and so forth, which tends to generate when you put a lot of houses around those areas.
So I can tell you in regard to the first aspect of your question, we do not propose, nor there is a requirement to actively test the quality of water that runs through these. The quality of water that runs through these ditches will largely be impacted by everything upstream. So we're going to have, in the grand total of everything that runs through this ditch, a relatively minor impact. We're required by DENREC code, stormwater code, to have a net essentially reduction in the what's called the resource protection event. Basically, there's water quality measures that are enforced and required to be implemented for every project. They've gotten more strict over time, so any new proposed development is more than likely going to have a better or a higher level of water quality treatment than maybe previous subdivisions. I would expect, this project to have a lesser impact on any of these waterways than anything upstream. And we're required to prove that in our calculations and with our submission to the Kent Conservation District. The second aspect of that,
yeah.
Did that answer your first part? Did you have a follow-up?
Yes. No, go ahead, please.
Okay. The second part of that's regarding the maintenance of these ditches. So they're going to be part of the open space for the HOA. I believe that would then fall under the maintenance for the Kent Conservation District. So I know they technically, and I've actually been talking to KCD about this site specifically on this, but I think they would end up taking over maintenance for the stormwater facilities on this project. And that would include then the discharge point and conveyance through the project, which in turn is this ditch. So again, being that this will now go through this formal process with a development, with an HOA and someone to hold kind of accountable, it's highly likely that these are going to be better maintained than in the situation of a single owner farmer type situation.
I thank you for that. Mr. Garvey, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much.
I think Denise has a question for you, sir.
Yeah, I'm just
We'll
curious.
get to you. We'll get to you in a
With
minute.
regards to, the blue line streams and all this, is the plan for there to be basements? Is that going to be an issue? No basements, okay.
Hi, I'm Jay Heilman. I'm with D.R. Horton, the developer.
Sir, do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So predominantly in this community would be all slab. And then Mr. Mills, to answer your question, there's a property up at the entrance of this community right there, which is known as the Krupp property. We are in negotiations to purchase that as well to help widen the entrance. We are looking at putting an additional bus stop and some other amenities there, like the mailbox kiosks, an area to turn off to allow people to get out, in and out. But we do anticipate having multiple bus stop locations in the community. And then additionally, for the commissioner that was on the phone call, we are planning on enrolling this community into the levee court system, which would be the stormwater management levee court as well for Kent County. But as a developer, I'm not too many people are familiar with D.R. Horton, but we are the nation's largest developer and builder. We will be implementing a property management company at the beginning of this community, and they will enforce all maintenance of the open space.
Does any other commissioners have any comments or questions? I'd have some. I don't know whether you're going to address them or what. Sure. This does have a large number of stormwaters on it, and as conservation requires, you're going to have 15-foot maintenance easement access to each one of these?
Yes, there are access easements, as you can see in some of these points here.
Because I've never seen a development with this many smaller stormwaters. It's quite a few of them and all. But what I have a problem with, once again, I'm going back to my fire service, is when you come in here, you got one way in. And denying the access in the back to another parcel, eventually when this becomes, more intense and the houses get built, if there's a major motor vehicle crash on that coming in there and there's a house fire back in the development, the alternate access at some day in time would be very good because there wouldn't be any access, only one way in. And I'm never a proponent of only one access. I've said that many a time on many a development, and I've been on this commission 14 years, so.
And we appreciate that. It was just a request. If we have to put one in via your opinion or your vote, we're willing to work with everybody on that. Mainly the reason for keeping the area in which we're looking to develop is already active farm field. We're trying to keep these natural buffers that are in place. There's wooded areas that surround the entire property to help with the local residents that live adjacent to the property to keep that feel of the nature around them as well.
Yeah, because looking at this, when you go back to the far one, the one that's shown on page 5, back to the right where you have those like 7 lots, it looks like that's an island back there.
It is, yep.
It is, and I still think there ought to be, so I'll tell you beforehand what my vote's going to be on that particular waiver, because I do not support that at all, and I never have.
Understood.
But they only want access in here, and I know that's the only properties that you own to get onto the parcel. So I can appreciate that. So, any other commissioner have any comments? Mr. Peterman.
I want to ask you, excuse me, is there any way that you could find out what you can do with Mr. Jester's comments by next week when we vote on this?
Sure. Steve with Bowler and I can review and see if there's a potential location to do either a future access point. Maybe we eliminate one of these parcels here and show a future access connection point to give an easement area for that to occur. They're adjacent to this here is a farmland, and we've had a couple conversations with the homeowners over us off of Webworth, and I don't feel that would be a good location to cut through those woods to have a future connection point there.
We understand that. We understand that. So you'll have an answer for us by Tuesday back to them, whatever can be done.
Sure.
I certainly appreciate that. Any other commissioners have any comments on this? I thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your presentation. We'll now open this up to the public. First of all, I'll call for anybody else that supports this project and would like to come to the microphone. Anybody else that supports this and would like to come to the microphone? Third and final call, anybody else that supports it? So I guess I see what you're all waiting for. So anybody against this project and would like to come? The gentleman back that raised his hand first. Come to the microphone, give us your name and your address.
Stephen Ryan, 1718 Peachtree Run, Magnolia, Delaware.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And I live on Peachtree Run, and there's already a lot of traffic coming back and forth. I have about an hour commute. So if you're talking about 4 more cars on the way, you're talking about a whole lot of cars, and not to mention my property value is going to probably be hit too. And there's a lot of cars. I mean, you're talking about, you're not too far from the high school, and there's always a lot of cars. And if you're going to do this, at least you need to put a stoplight there somewhere, because sometimes when I go to work, I have to wait 5 minutes just to get on the road. And as I said, my property value is going to probably take a hit through this.
Well, I guess you saw the circle that DelDOT is proposing at Walnut Shade and Peachtree Run, because
we already know that. So.
Sir, I didn't talk while you was talking.
I'm sorry.
You let me answer you.
I'm sorry, nervous.
Because I know there's a lot of controversy with that too, and what's going to happen. So there's a lot going on out in your neighborhood.
And it's kind of right in front of me too. So when I see it, I'm going to be seeing this neighborhood. So.
I thank you for your comments. Anybody here on the board have any questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming. Anybody else here against this project and would like to speak? Sir, come to the mic, give us your name and address, and you'll be either sworn or affirmed.
Good evening. I'm Chaplain Don Hanna, 1600 Peachtree Run. And I so swear.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much.
This is immediately the new road that's going to put in is going to be immediately on my property line. And I don't know where all this stormwater is going to go. I mean, it's almost an overgrown swamp behind our house, very high water level. We moved there built in 91. And I went out to put in some grapevines. I dug up a hole with a post hole digger, 1.5 feet deep. I went in the house to get my grapevines and came out and the hole was full of water. So I don't know where the water is going to go. It doesn't flow, it just comes in behind our house and just piles up there and has to wait for it to dissolve and go down into the ground, which can take quite a while. I'm also opposed to the fact that there's only one entrance. There needs to be another entrance, egress, perhaps back there around Bailey Circle. He's up in heaven, he probably doesn't agree with that, but anyway, that's our objections at this time.
We certainly thank you for your comments, and I'll ask the commissioners, anybody have any comments or any questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else here would like to come to the mic and speak in opposition to this project? The lady in the back had her hand up first, so I'll go to her first.
Hello, I'm Serena Folk at 1845 Peachtree Run, Dover, Delaware.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
Okay, so I live at the corner right here, which is where the traffic circle is going. I already know I'm losing 1/4 acre of my property. I just bought the house in June, and I wasn't told before I bought the house that I'd be losing the 1/4 acre either. I also wasn't told about this housing development and this one too. So it sucks for me because I already bought the house, and it's kind of a crazy housing market as well. So my property value will go down even further with these developments. The other issue I have is this traffic circle. DelDOT has been working with me and the other residents along Walnut Shade to either reduce the size of it, try to make it better for us, the people that already live there. And I'm worried, since this is already approved and they want to add this, that's probably like 200 homes. And I'm not sure the level of income that these houses would bring, but we can assume at least 1 car per household. So this traffic circle will already have today's traffic, but it can also expect future traffic from these 2 developments. I'm worried that they're going to build these things and then realize, oh my God, the traffic circle wasn't enough. We needed something else. And then where's my house gonna go in my yard? My other issue with this is they want both entrances right up against each other. At 8 o'clock in the morning, when everyone's going to work and they're all piling up at this traffic circle, everyone will be fighting to turn left or right here, and then everyone will be fighting to go through that traffic circle. Another thing is there's multiple school buses. There's at least 4 schools that I know of in the area that have to use this road, this intersection where the traffic circle will be, and now they'll also have to go into here and into here. And so I don't see how the current size of this road can have all this additional traffic with school buses, with garbage trucks, and with utility vehicles as well, with the addition of all the residential vehicles. So those are my main concerns.
We certainly thank you for coming to the mic and expressing. Anybody up here on the panel have any questions for this young lady? Once again, we thank you for coming forward.
Thank you for listening.
Somebody else would like to come to the mic and speak? Raise your hand. Gentleman here in front first. Give us your name and address, and you'll be either sworn or affirmed.
I'm Tom Corbeil. I'm the president of the HOA at Norman's Mead. I live at 255 West Pebworth Road.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Thank you.
As the previous speakers spoke, that was always on my mind, and I agree with them. The traffic, I've been here since 1995, and the traffic on Walnut Shade, Peachtree Run has increased tenfold. The roads have not changed. They're just as wide as they were in the 90s. And we got a new school in the area, and they did change the entrance. They widened the roads in front of the housing developments. They widened the roads in front of the school, but they're the same old roads coming into those widths. And nothing. I talked to Mr. Sweeney about it many a times, and he can't tell me that the contractor, the developer, is obligated to do the roads within their structure. And the drainage, yes, that is a very, right now on Pebworth Road in our community at Norman's Mead, we have good drainage. We have good water runoff. I only have 2 retention ponds. One has a liner in it and one has not. So the water drains and evaporates at a pretty good rate when we do not have rainfall. My one concern was the buffer between the farmers' ditches, which is on the east side, the west side of our development, the east side of their development, and runs the whole length of their development. And we were assured that they're going to keep a buffer zone between these drainage ditches of 50 feet, I believe it was. And if that takes place and everything is okay, fine. I'd like to know where all that rainwater is going to go. They talked about their small retention ponds. If they have an overflow area or a valve in those ponds, fine. If not, I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be had, and I know they've done a lot of studies in the area, but the roads are one, the drainage is another, and the entry point that they're going to use off Peachtree, there's another small development going to the west, right across the street from their entryway. So if that ever gets going, they got the infrastructure in, but nothing has been stuck up yet. I don't know what what's going to be the population in that little area, but it's right across the street from their proposed entryway. As far as another entryway being added to that development, I do not know where, for the life of me, where they would put it, because they're not coming into our development. And I've been asked that once before. I've been approached by DelDOT to gain access for the contractor for use of our roads to build houses on the other side of that ditch. I said, you gotta be kidding. Oh, they'll pay you. Look, no, they won't. No, they won't. They'll be doing more damage to us than good. So we're gonna be on top of this throughout the whole process. And I'll be going to just about every meeting that they could possibly go to make sure that all the bases are covered. I'm not opposed to it, you know, and hearsay, I'm not opposed to it, but I want to make sure that in the future, you know, that it's not going to impact the people who have been living there for 50, 60 years. And so that's all I have. Anybody got any questions for me?
I have a question for you. Has the contractor and developer been meeting with your HOA?
Not a chance. Never been contacted until we got this letter.
Okay. I think Mr. Mills might have a question.
Would you pinpoint just exactly where you're located on this map up here?
East side.
On the, right there. That's
there, yeah.
That's it right there.
That's okay.
That's okay. We got it now.
Sure, you can't.
I got it now.
Up there. You can use that pointer mark if you have to help him.
Was it this here? Oh, okay.
I got it now, anyway.
We're right here. This is Norman's
Okay.
Gate. This is West Petworth Road, right here, right along here. Runs right all along here and turns in. This is our property here. This is our number 1 ditch right here. And that extends, it's like a hourglass. It runs over
Sir, if you
here,
have
all the
anything
way
to say,
here.
you got to get back by the mic. We can't hear you.
Oh, okay, well. All right, can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you now.
All right, this is Norman's Mead. And this is West Petworth Road. This is the drainage ditch that runs parallel to their property. They're gonna have a buffer zone. All the property lines going like 50 feet from that drainage ditch, so they say. Our property line cuts in here, and there's not much there. You know, it'd be a great access, an extra access to their property, but we're not gonna allow that to happen. And,
How many homes are in your development?
Please? How many what?
How many houses are in your
We
development?
have 60 lots, 59 homes.
Very good.
That's all.
Thank you, sir. We
In
certainly
the years
appreciate it.
past, we've been trying to get natural gas in, and I have a couple of homeowners that have the ground, thermal ground.
Understood.
and
Yeah, we
they
understand.
requested that we get 100% of the homeowners, and I can't do that. It's impossible. They expended too much money for their thermal ground.
Well, we
stuff.
thank you for your comments and
Thank you.
appreciate your concerns, and thank you for representing your HOA.
Yeah,
Anybody
thank you
here
very
have any other questions for this gentleman? Once again, we thank you for coming up to the
All right,
microphone.
thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak? I think the gentleman back there in the back, right there, sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, my name's Travis Olson, 170. Pull the mic up. Travis Olson, 175 Jeffrey Drive.
Sir, do you swear or affirm tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback on the same concerns they all have with the amount of traffic, the intersection, and Peachtree Run itself. With the developments that are already at the south end of Peachtree, every morning it's a madhouse. School buses, the kids trying to get on the buses, just the pure amount of traffic. So basically what everybody else already said. One of my concerns is my property backs up to, where are we at? Somewhere right in that area there. It's already the lowest point of all the property in the area. So the amount of stormwater that's gonna come in there, if they have to raise their property to put houses in that area, that's gonna raise their land above mine, and all that water is just gonna come in. Basically, my backyard's gonna be a swamp. That's my biggest concern. Yeah, the amount of traffic is already out of control early in the morning and in the afternoons. And the one entrance, I know they don't have a viable option for a second entrance, but they really need to find one. So that and the runoff is the biggest concerns. That's all.
We thank you for that, and I'll ask the commissioners, anybody have any questions or comments? Mark, please let me know if Mr. Garvey raises his hand. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank
Appreciate
you.
your comments. Anyone else here would like to speak at the mic in opposition to this project? Lady over here, please come to the mic, give us your name and address, and you'll be sworn or affirmed.
Melissa Clark, 1700 Walnut Shade Road.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I just want to introduce myself first, but I actually moved on to Walnut Shade in 1993, so I've been there 30 years. For the last 20 years, I've worked for a law office that one of the attorneys there is very well versed in planning and zoning. So I talked to him before I came here tonight as well. Just to give you a little background on that road, if you're not familiar with it, I heard you say you lived in Smyrna, but we have Polytech High School on that road, which at one time it was a vocational school. Then in the 90s, it turned into a polytechnical school. So we have a tremendous amount of school bus traffic on that road. It is also, because they moved Troop 3 now, the thoroughfare, every time there is a call to Troop 3, they have to use Walnut Shade to get out to 13. In addition, we've had, as many people have said, tremendous amount of houses going up there. Norman's Mead was not even built at the time that I moved into that neighborhood, but we researched it. Thankfully, the property in front of me is preserved farmland. I knew that at some point the property behind me would be developed. Not to this extent, but my concern is twofold. Our concern, my neighbors, the amount of housing being built on such small property lots, and most importantly, the traffic issues. I would like a little clarification on that entrance, but if you look at the map and the proposed site, it's 858 feet from the intersection. I did read through the traffic study, which was 44 pages, but the gist of it was, one day on Peachtree Run, there are 4,241 cars. 4,200 cars, and with the addition of this, let's just say 200 vehicles, you're talking about 4,500 cars on that particular stretch of road. So it's quite daunting. The numbers are crazy, and I don't know how to say it other than that road is a hot mess. Many of my neighbors back here came to the meeting. I went to the meeting, but they needed a turnaround at that intersection because it was so bad. Actually, when I moved there, that was only a two-way stop. Then they had so many accidents. They had a fatality years and years ago. They made it a four-way stop, which we were thankful for because the road just got increasingly worse. So, it wasn't a surprise to us they were developing because they wouldn't put a roundabout there just because. They did a 3-year traffic study. The roundabout came about because on that particular road where Peachtree Run is, there are so many developments, and I'll just name a few with a number of houses. New developments within the past several years. Woodfield, 295 homes. Townsend Fields, 106 homes. These are all going directly on the Peachtree Run. Village of Chestnut Ridge, Fox Hollow, 59 homes. Longacre Village. In addition to the housing that was already there. And by the way, I did hear the engineer say something I wanted to address. He said that aesthetically, they didn't like houses to be back to back in that development, but it is directly behind my house. So all of the houses are in my backyard. So I thought that was kind of interesting that he said that because the people that are already there are having that issue. Not only the developments I just mentioned on that particular road, but there are several roads close to it that have huge new developments as well. Irish Hill has Pinehurst, which has 185 homes. Chestnut Ridge, which is another part of, it's like Village of Chestnut Ridge and Chestnut Ridge, many homes. The list goes on. After several years, the roundabout was approved. We were not happy about the roundabout. Even though the traffic was bad and we knew there needed to be something done about it, people lost their property. We were furious about it, especially the ones that have been there a really long time. We said, hey, can we get a traffic light? They told us, the meeting was with DelDOT and the engineering firm. They said, absolutely not, it's too expensive. So after the meeting, it was a very heated, long meeting, very emotional. People were screaming and hollering. But after the meeting, I went up to the representative from DelDOT and I said, so is a traffic signal just out of the question? He said, 2 things, Mrs. Clark, and I quote what he said. He said, if we put a traffic light there, you think it's bad now, you will never be able to get out of your driveway. It will be backed up so bad and so long. The roundabout keeps the traffic moving. But the problem is, this development, the entrance is right at the roundabout, 850 feet from it. So that's an issue, and then adjacent to that, right across the street, is another development coming. We don't know how many houses, but I'm sure someone in the powers that be do. Within this traffic study that I just actually read today, in 3 years they had 128 accidents. 21 of them were at that particular intersection. That's a lot of accidents at one intersection. In the study, it said no fatalities, but I have to make a correction to that. Unfortunately, there was one the day before Christmas on Peachtree and Irish Hill. So there has been a fatality since they did the traffic report. One of the things they told us with the roundabout was with widening the road, they have to put the shared usage paths, the bike and for walking use. But I have to say, when my kids were growing up, I never allowed them to ride their bike on Walnut Shade because it's basically a death trap. There's no shoulders. So they had to walk their bikes through people's backyards to get to Normansmead to be able to ride their bike. So with the addition of 200 new cars, because 100 houses times 2 drivers, let's just say, common sense dictates, even if you put a bike path there, are you going to let your kid ride their bike if there's 4,500 cars on that road? I don't think so. So I did attend, this has been a long time in the works. I get it. DelDOT doesn't just do stuff like this, or the county. So back in 2021, they had a Zoom meeting to start all of this. And kind of through that, I started researching, and I understand that the developers had to put in money for the roundabout. But I expressed the same concern she did, that a year from now or 2 years from now, when all this gets rolling, they're going to realize that roundabout's not big enough. Then what? So concessions were made, though, at that meeting, and initially it was 60 feet they were going to take. Now it's only 30. So, we did have something come out of it. Jumping around, but something they said tonight I didn't even think about. They were talking about stormwater. My property backs up directly to that development, and as I said, in October, I'll be there 30 years. It floods constantly in my basement, constant flooding. I spent thousands of dollars over the years. I had to make 2 homeowners claims. And I can't foresee that will help the situation. Off the subject, and I know it doesn't have to do with this development, however, it is in the big scheme of pictures. They're talking about putting a development, it's already in the works, right across from this one. And I would like to get some clarification too about the entrances, because it sounds like they're going to be right next to each other. And again, 850 feet from that horrible intersection. My neighbor, his son was turning into his driveway, got rear-ended. People just will not slow down on that road, and it's very difficult because right now the state police are so stretched trying to answer calls about everything else. They don't have time for traffic control. Nothing against the police, it's just that's the way it is. I heard someone say it, and I thought about it too while I was sitting here. And everyone has an obligation of a citizen to pay their taxes. But since I've moved there, my taxes have not doubled, not tripled, quadrupled in that time period. Our properties were reassessed recently at a higher value, and then all these houses come in that are on tiny little pieces of property and a lot smaller. So our property values are going to go down, but our taxes went up because we got reassessed before this happened. So I'm not happy about that. One really important thing I heard the engineers say when I consulted the attorney, he looked at the site plan for 20 seconds, and the first thing he said was, I can't believe there's only one entrance to this thing. I said, well, Normansmead only has one entrance. And he said, yes, that's 60 homes. This is 104. So he said, typically there's interconnectivity between 2 developments. But he said, I doubt, and they won't, Normansmead won't let that happen, and there is a pond there. So he said it may be a wetlands issue. But, with the number of houses and that traffic on that road, I just don't see how that traffic is going to keep flowing with that one entrance. I just think that's a sticking point.
Ma'am, are you about to wrap up?
Yep.
I mean, you're only allowed a certain amount of time.
The other thing I was going to say is the one thing I haven't heard anyone address is the impact this has on our schools. Right now, Cesar Rodney has just under 8,000 kids. In the last 20 years, it's increased by 1,200 kids. They have one high school that was opened in 1967. So basically, all these kids are trying to funnel into one high school, so that's a concern as well. And lastly, and you hit it, Mr. Jester, fire service is EMS, fire service, police. They have to address all these issues in all these new homes, and they're stretched as they are, and as you know, they're volunteers. So we have less firemen, less police officers, and they have trouble getting to the place. So with that, I just want to say, you know, we have more calls in the area, less personnel to do it, and hopefully that can be addressed with more taxpayer funding or something. So lastly, I just want to thank you for listening to me, and it is emotional for us because we have to live it day in day. A developer in New Jersey doesn't. They don't care if our kids can ride their bike in front of their house. So I just would like for the planning organization to understand that we have to live it day in and day out.
Well, I certainly thank you for your
Yep.
comments.
Any questions?
And you're exactly right about the fire service. I've been in my fire company for 52 years. We're having trouble with volunteerism, getting vehicles out, and that's nothing to do with these kind of things, but it is a thing that overlaps, and I don't think everybody in the state of Delaware realizes that we all are volunteers.
Right. But if
and
you don't,
there's only two paid companies, which is City of Wilmington and Dover Air Base.
Right.
Everybody else is volunteers. We do have paid
but if you
EMS.
keep adding the people to your district,
Oh, I know.
there's no one to put the fire out. You know?
I can tell you about how many nights we don't sleep. So
Yep.
I think
Okay.
Mr. Peterman would like to have a comment.
Would you show us on that map where your house is?
Let's see here. I have a hard time seeing this. Okay. This is Norman's Mead, correct? I believe. Okay, yeah. I know, but I think it's like over here, maybe off of this a little bit, in this area.
Okay, because we can't hear you if you're not by the
Yep,
mic, but
right here.
we do see where you're at. Once
One
again,
of
I
these
thank you for
houses
your
here.
comments, and I
Yep.
appreciate all. We'll try to address the things that we can.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak? Come to the microphone. Yes?
Norma Ross.
Address.
Pardon me?
Address, please.
Oh, 145 West Pebworth Road.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I always do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wasn't for this project when I came, but listening here, I am so against it. You heard it. Too many people in a small area, not able to be serviced by firemen, policemen, schools. I live very close. This development right here will be across the street from me. I'm just like the third house in as you go onto Pebworth. I'm a country girl. I grew up in Maine. I like Norman's Mead. But this development will take away that country feeling that I bought 17 years ago. Not only will that take away that feeling, but it will take away the value of my property. I'm very opposed to that, and nobody should be allowed to do that to me. Also, everyone on Pebworth in Norman's Mead has a private well. You can't tell me bringing in this many people is going to not affect our wells. I do not need, I'm a recent widow, I do not need a well problem. And you can't tell me I'm not going to have one. So I think they need to move someplace else in the country. Please, leave us alone. Let us, and you've got to take into consideration the people who live there. I know the people on Peachwood are not happy. The people in Pebworth are not happy. Why should you make that many people unhappy? Why? I don't approve of this at all. I'm very upset. More upset than when I came, listening to all of the cons. You got plenty of cons. You got them. So do it as right. Okay?
Thank you for your comments, and I'll ask the commissioners up here. You have something, Mr. Mills?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on one thing that I've heard here several times tonight is talking about people's property values going down because a house next door to them pops up. That's not true. I'm sorry, I'm in the real estate business. I've been for 15 years. The value of property is not judged on a development, or your value is not developed based on the development that pops up next to you. It may cause your house to go up just as well as it can cause it to go down.
You'd have to prove that to me. Okay, but anyway, there's plenty of other cons that are more important, you know. Enjoy
that up. I wanted to clear that up. I've heard it several times that your property values will go down. That's
Okay.
not true.
Well, the inability to move about in a sensible, realistic manner is the biggest one, because there's just too many people for this area. There's just too many.
I agree with you on that part.
Okay?
I
So
agree with you there. But
do it is right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody have any questions for her besides that? Sir, back there in the back. Yes, sir. You. Yes. You're standing up.
Yeah, hi, my name's Gary Corsilia. I've lived at 283 West Pebert Road for 27 years.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Thank you.
A couple of things here. As a suggestion on this road here, could you not make it one way, northbound only, and stop it down at Mill Chop? This would give the people who live on Peachtree Run some peace of mind. I've seen that done over Newell's Creek when there was so much cut-through traffic coming into Walmart, and they put a block there, and there's no more complaints now. But I think that with all the developments south of this proposed Mulberry Meadows, I think that you've got Fox Hollow, Chestnut Ridge, Woodfield, Pinehurst, to just probably 10 or 12, and they all funnel up Peachtree Run to go up to Walmart and all the shopping in Camden area. I think if they stopped it at the little liquor store there, maybe at Mill Chop and Peachtree Run, and just ended it there so that people would have to turn left and go out to 13 to go north, I think that would really alleviate some of the problem there. The other question I had was if they do put public water in there, they're going to have to put most likely a water tower in there. And when they do that, it's probably will affect the aquifer that supplies water to Norman's Mead. And I'm thinking, I'd like to know if possible where that Tidewater would put a tower in there, and that would probably have something to do with to be later talked about maybe. And the last thing I have here is, this would be for maybe Jay Hillman to answer, I think he's here, is the width of the streets in there. Do you know the width?
Sir, you have to address your questions to us. I'm sorry you can't ask.
Anyway, some of these developments,
if you want to comment on them, they can get back with you later on.
Okay, I'm sorry. Some of these developments, they have, like Norman's Mead has very, very wide streets. And some of these developments I've seen are basically one-way streets. They're very narrow. So that was my question. And other than that...
About the roadways and all, and the development streets, those are all guided by DelDOT. Has to come under DelDOT's leadership, and even the roadways out on Peachtree Run. The only thing we can govern is the things that are out of the right-of-ways, where we do in the development, like sidewalks, houses, position of stormwater. We can do all that, but when you get into DelDOT statistics and their analytics, then that's when you get they have the right and the say.
Okay, well, thank you.
I will ask anybody up front here, have any questions for this gentleman? Seeing none, I certainly thank you for your comments, and we'll take them all into consideration. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak? Come to the mic. That's my third and final call. So next week, we'll be taking this project up. I certainly thank you for all your participation and patiently sitting through this. And thank you for all coming to the microphone. I'm going to hold up a minute. Why? If you all want to leave, I'm going to hold up a minute so we don't have to, we're going to conclude, but we don't want all the noise. If you have to talk, you'll have to go out in the hallway. Now we are down to public comment. If there's anybody else who would like to come to Mike, have anything to say? I don't see anybody coming forth. We're down to commissioner comments. Any of the commissioners, Mr. Garvey or anybody else? Seeing none, any other business for any of the commissioners before us tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to adjourn.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Galvery?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to adjourn. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week.